What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. I have something that is very interesting that we are going to be discussing that is extremely taboo, meaning not a lot of people really understand or know about this specific subject that it is that I'm going to be discussing today. And we are going to be talking about some of the darker aspects of occult initiation that are in relationship to Kabbalah. And as I said, the darker aspects of Kabbalah. So we're going to be talking about the Qlippoth and why it is necessary to literally be a vampire, an energetic vampire, to properly and successfully enter into the depths of the Qlippothic shadow realm. So this is something that I'm going to be discussing in this video. Once again, not a lot of people talk about the Qlippoth in general, and there's a lot of people that don't necessarily understand what it means to truly be a vampire and why that is absolutely necessary to travel into the Qlippoth. So this is what I'm going to be discussing in detail for you as a listener to actually understand, so that you can use it to your advantage. So if this is something that you're interested in, stay tuned for the rest of the video, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So we are talking about the Qlippoth and why it is absolutely necessary to be a vampire to successfully travel into those depths of Universe B, or of the Qlippothic realm. So the first place that I really want to start with this is creating a little bit of an understanding on what exactly a vampire actually is, because a lot of people have some extreme misconceptions and misunderstandings when it comes to what it means to actually be a vampire. So a lot of people base their perspective on what it means to be a vampire from things that generally come from the entertainment industry, whether it's through TV shows or movies or different types of books and things in that nature. But in reality, a vampire is actually something quite different than what the entertainment industry promotes. And it is something that has to do with your energetic resonance and your energetic field. And contrary to popular belief, vampires are not evil inherently, okay? I want you to kind of take the word vampire, and you can also associate that with absorbing. Okay, so a vampire absorbs. There is a deep feminine yin polarity to people that are energetic vampires. When you look at the word vampire, you have the big V, which is the upside down triangle, which is the representation of the primordial dark matter feminine womb in which we are all connected to. So when someone is a vampire, which not all people obviously are vampires, people that are vampires in this today's lifetime are people that have a stronger relationship to what is known as the negative polarity, which is a soul polarity in regards to the development process. And that is what relates to the demonic realm. It's what relates to the Carl Jung shadow. And it's what relates to being able to understand the nature of Qlippoth, or the Qlippoth, from an initiatory standpoint. So vampires are related to the darker polarity. They are the yin polarity in connection to the yang. And the reality is that most people on our planet are not vampires. There's going to be a lot fewer people that are actual energetic vampires than the mass collective at large. But there are different forms of how vampires can manifest themselves. Some of those forms look like a narcissist. Some of them look like sociopaths and psychopaths. That would be a vampire energy that is operating from a false self. So that would be an unconscious false self vampire, someone that doesn't really understand what they're truly doing. Yes, they are absorbing a lot of energy, but they're doing it in a wounded type of way. So they have a lot of different traumas that are behind the different types of mechanisms in how they are consuming or absorbing energy. Whereas you have an authentic vampire, this is someone that is actually utilizing that healthy yin polarity in balance within the collective consciousness that actually plays a significant role within the collective at large from a soul evolution standpoint. That is the type of stuff that I teach. This is the type of vampire that I personally am. And that is where we want to start with the context of this video so that you as a listener can actually understand what a vampire actually is. This is not some LARPing thing. This is not some role-playing thing. This is not just a game. There really is people that have certain soul resonance with what it means to actually be a vampire. And as I'm describing, the vampiric energy field has a energy body that can travel much deeper into the shadow than what most people can experience, much deeper into the unknown. They have much more of a capacity to embrace death energy. So that's the energy of sacrifice and letting go and surrendering, to then discover what the source light is within that path of subtraction or within that path of letting go. And from that, there is an absorbing quality. So when you are working with the depths of that primal shadow within self, what happens is there is an absorbing quality because you can't really fight against it. You can't overcome it and you can't escape it. So you have to surrender to it, which basically wires your nervous system to be able to absorb at a high level, pulling in at a high level. So rather than running away from uncomfortable, let's say negative repressed energies, we embrace them and we absorb them actively and allow them through the system. And that allows them to integrate in a very powerful way. And through the principle of as within, as without, this is also an effect, an energetic effect that we have on the world around us as well. Meaning we can initiate these death cycles and we can initiate these processes of the repressed negative energies in other people to start coming to the surface so that they can be properly worked with and properly integrated as a whole. All right? So jumping into the subject, why is it necessary to be a vampire in order to initiate yourself into the Qlippoth? Well, the first thing that I want to say with this is when we look at the tree, so let me pull a diagram out real quick. So we have the tree here. This is the Kabbalistic tree. And as you can see, this looks like the DNA because that's literally what it's representing. It is representing our own DNA as humans. And we are existing within a solar system because we're a soul inside of a system. And this is the roadmap of what this soul system evolution looks like. And in occultism, we call this initiation. So every one of these is a different planet, all the way from Earth up to Pluto. It's a part of that soul system. It's in our DNA. Literally, it's wired into our DNA, also our energy field. So this is what we're looking at. We are looking at the yang aspect of this DNA strand, we could say, of this system we experience. This is the positive polarity. This is what's known as the tree of life. In Kabbalah, we call this the Sephiroth. And then as we flip it, we now have the Qlippoth. This would be the yin polarity. This is the negative polarity, what people refer to as the left-hand path. And this is the tree of death. And it is known as the Qlippoth. Okay? So both of these different aspects of this tree are all a part of the same tree. It's all one tree. This is a universal tree, which means every single one of us has this tree of life and this tree of death embedded inside of our beings, embedded in our nervous system, embedded in our DNA, and embedded within the energetic structure of what we actually are. So there's no one that is separate from the Qlippoth, and there's no one that's separate from the Sephiroth. Universe A of the Tree of Life and Universe B of the Shadow Realm of the Qlippoth exist together. Just like a coin is one full coin that has a heads as well as a tails. Okay? It's still the same coin. Now, amongst these two different polarities within self, even, just like within self, we have a masculine and a feminine polarity, even if you are an incarnated male or female, we are meant to work with both of these polarities to the degree that is in our best interest, or that is a part of our soul's journey, a part of our path, a part of what we're here to experience. So the majority of the mass collective consciousness is going to be more so in resonance with the Tree of Life aspect of things, because the Tree of Life is basically the building of identity. So in many ways of understanding this, this is the building or the construction of ego to be more in alignment with the source consciousness. So this is building up identity, building up sense of self, building up ego in order to have an ego that generally is in alignment with the essence of the source connection of all things and the different cosmic laws that are also a part of all of this. Okay, so all of us have this. I mean, every single one of us as humans have egos. So we all have this aspect existing inside of us. Now, the Qlippoth is going to be the primordial path of erasing or subtracting from the ego in regards to all the different false self aspects of being. So when we go through different types of trauma and different experiences from our past that start to cause fragmentation within our psyche, that then prevents us or keeps us away from our true underneath core and keeps us away from our vulnerability underneath and who and what we truly are, it is within the Qlippoth that we are subtracting and deconstructing from the ego to get deeper and deeper into the shadow, where then we discover the true infinite light, the unstoppable light of our soul's essence or of our soul's emanation. And from that light, there is no need to be, because you just are. Okay, that's like the whole Eckhart Tolle concept where just be. Okay, you are good enough. You are loved exactly where you are. You don't need to be a certain thing. You don't need to do a certain thing. You don't need to think a certain thing. You don't need to accomplish a certain thing in order to be worthy or in order to be loved. It is within this Qlippothic realm that we are letting go and sacrificing every false aspect of ourself step by step, slowly but surely, until we realize the core of our beingness, which we can call the no thing, because it is void of having identity, but in that state, we still are a thing. We are that infinite light of that source connection, which is our soul. So all of us have a Qlippothic realm too, okay? All of us have to work with the Qlippoth, because in order to construct a healthy identity, a healthy ego, you have to first start allowing yourself to let go and deconstruct aspects of the false self that exists within the Qlippothic realm. And Universe B, that would be the shadow realm. So once again, everything that Carl Jung talks about in relationship to the shadow, that would be associated with the Qlippothic realm. Okay? So when you are someone that is a real vampire, and this is something that you may or may not be conscious of, but there are people that have past life connections to certain types of lineages, ancestorships, and just species of beings from different dimensions, different densities of consciousness. There are people that have past life connections where there is soul resonance, and then there is DNA resonance with some of the Qlippothic realm, and that can align people with the path of the Qlippoth, the vampiric path. So in other words, you can come from a lineage of people that are vampires. Once again, they may not even be conscious that they are, and it exists in your DNA as well, meaning you have a predisposition to be skilled working within the shadow realm, working within the deconstruction realm, working within the realm of full letting go and surrender and finding acceptance there. That is definitely something that runs through a lot of people's bloodlines that oftentimes are not aware of that. And typically these people are going to feel very different than the collective consciousness. They're going to feel very separated or very like, I don't know if I fit in. Like, why do I resonate with all these darker aspects of things? Why do I resonate with death? Why do I resonate with darker energies? And most people seem like they're kind of just existing in this light state where everything's all happy and joyful all the time, right? So a lot of times that would be someone that has predisposition for the Qlippothic realm, probably because of past lives as well as ancestorships. And to be quite honest, a lot of the times for people that are wired for the Qlippoth, these people also tend, if you track back their lineages, tend to come from different family lines of royalty. And there is a whole proponent to this that we could even look at as a reptilian genetic strand. So when it comes to extraterrestrial consciousness, there are different species of beings out there that exist. And a lot of the different reptilian races are the ones that are very negatively polarized and specialized within the Qlippothic realm. So there are certain family lines that carry stronger resonances with that reptilian bloodline. And if you are a descendant of that family line, then you are going to have a predisposition as well for the Qlippothic realm. Okay? So once again, there's going to be a lot less people that are in resonance with the Qlippoth than there is the Sephiroth, and that's just because there doesn't necessarily need to be as many Qlippothic souls or negatively polarized souls as there does positively, just because of the nature of the negative polarity and the nature of that negative polarity. It's a very powerful charge there. So why is it necessary to then be a vampire in order to initiate yourself into the Qlippoth? So remember what I'm saying. Everyone experiences both aspects of the tree. This is something that for sure happens and for sure takes place, as I just mentioned below. But not everyone is meant to actually open those shells to initiate themselves into as an actual like practitioner or as a scientist or as like, you know, an occultist. When you are using active forms of initiation, this is going to come through invocation of extraterrestrial energies, like what I just mentioned, a lot of those reptilian species of extraterrestrial, invocation of these consciousnesses. That's invocation. Ritual, different types of ritual that stimulate the subconscious as well as astrological phenomena to channel the opening doorways of these Qlippothic energy centers within the body as well within our solar system. These are advanced and intense ways to be working with the shadow within self, to be working within that void realm, the spaces that are unknown to most people, the aspects of self that are negatively charged, where we tend to store a lot of our different traumas, emotions, memories, and negative thoughts. So not everyone is meant to actively initiate these doorways to further open up within self that then causes external manifestation of what we experience as the initiation. So most people just experience their life. Naturally, these Qlippothic avenues or these Qlippothic aspects of self will come to the surface when they're meant to, in a natural type of way, like in a very organic way. But for souls that are negatively polarized, we literally open up doors consciously and sometimes even unconsciously through ritual and through invocation that is designed to further surface these repressed energies within self. And that is very prominent. And this is why there is a very big difference between someone who is an actual negatively polarized soul and someone who is a positively polarized soul. And then I've mentioned the different polarities before on other videos, and there's a lot of people that haven't really understood their polarity yet in our today's time. So there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily negatively polarized or positively polarized. They're still kind of in the cycles of development, understanding what it means to align with that soul polarity. Okay, but once again, there's a big difference from the positive polarity and the negative polarity in this regard. So the people that are vampires have a much wider and stronger capacity to be able to embrace these darker aspects of self and be able to go into those dimensions and into these processes of self-development that most people are not necessarily able to experience because they don't have that capacity. Qlippothic initiation is one of the hardest forms of initiation, if not the hardest. It is the hardest, I should say, form of initiation that any soul can experience. So as you can imagine, it requires a strong capacity. It requires education. It requires a healthy foundation. It requires an understanding of what it is that you're actually getting yourself into, what it is that you're actually working with. What is the authentic purpose of working with this negative polarity? Is it to dominate the world and take over and control other people? No. Is it to heal repressed wounds within self at such a deep degree that you eventually let go of, significant aspects of your false self to then see your source connection of that connectedness of all things by complete surrender? Yes. Does that have an effect on the world around you? Does it have a cleaning effect or a recycling effect on the world around you? Absolutely. Okay, it basically, as you're cleaning out your nervous system by healing these wounds, working with these darker aspects of self, deconstructing the self-identity, that has an effect on the collective consciousness as well, because we're all connected. And that's literally what our planet Earth requires us to do as humans if we are moving into this new world as the planet is changing in its energetic structure. So there has to be people that work with the Qlippoth from an authentic space and a space of understanding for the mass collective of human beings to be able to move into this new world that it is that we are moving into. And the balance between the negative polarity and the positive polarity is very important as well. And these are things that naturally take place as we are following our soul calling and we are honoring these processes that we know we're supposed to be honoring. All right. So being a vampire then becomes really important within the Qlippoth. And there's a lot of people that are going to sit there and say, no, it's not. I'm not a vampire. I still work with the Qlippoth, etc. And a lot of the times the people that are saying this, they are uneducated people and they're just trying to be rebellious, and I don't know why exactly they're doing it, but they have their reasons for doing that. It's going to be rooted in some form of trauma, but there absolutely is a component of needing to be an energetic vampire to successfully initiate and move through the Qlippoth. And once again, for the people that like to deny that and think, no, I don't, I can do it however I want to. These are people that once again are uneducated, but at the same time, they're unconsciously vampires. They don't even know they are, okay? So I think it would be much more valuable to learn from someone that actually knows what they're talking about and understands these processes, because it's actually not that complicated to understand why it's important to be a vampire, to work within these deeper realms of Universe B. Okay, so with that being said, the reason why it is so important to be a vampire as you're entering into the Qlippoth is because when we're dealing with this portion of dark matter energy and chaos, it is extremely deconstructing. It is extremely dissolving and disillusioning to, once again, our identity. So I want you to think of the identity, the ego, as the archetype of the sun. And I want you to think of the deeper aspects of the shadow self and the core of where the soul resides as the moon. Okay, so the moon, we could almost say, is the foundation of the sun. The soul is the foundation of the authentic self identity. So going into universe B, which is Qlippoth initiation, the shadow realm within self, we are now working with energetic structures that are in our solar system that are negatively charged, designed to put us through a process of subtraction, a process of deconstruction, and returning back to what is called the 0 point, which is the purest essence of beingness. So that then through this path of letting go and sacrifice, we then understand our connection to the source. We understand the interconnectedness of all things from that point. So when we're working with this depth of death energy, and we're working with this depth of the shadow and the unconscious and what is unknown and all these negatively charged emotions and sensations and thoughts and memories, there is a component where we are needing to absorb. We are needing to absorb, like kind of like a black hole absorbs energy and different stars and potentially even planets, and it acts as like a recycling system. So what we're doing as real vampires is, first, we are absorbing aspects of our false self. So all of these different mechanisms that we have that we could consider protective mechanisms, control mechanisms that we've formed through traumas in the past, these aspects of ourself are not necessarily completely authentic to the core of our being, because the core of our being is more like the inner child. It's more in that present moment state and just is, and has that sense of acceptance. Whereas the protective control mechanisms that we form are based on keeping us safe and helping us survive from traumas that we've experienced in the past. But a lot of the times, these protective mechanisms we have are actually trying to keep us safe at the cost of us getting in tune with our true core. So, for example, there might be a protective mechanism that someone has that likes to drink alcohol every time an authentic emotion comes up to the surface of something that happened in the past. So maybe there's an emotion like fear or sadness, and once that starts to come up to the surface, that protective mechanism part of the person then says, let's go drink alcohol so we don't have to be with the emotion. And that part is just trying to keep the person safe, but it's doing it at the cost of the person actually getting in touch with that authentic emotion underneath, and then is not letting the person actually heal that and integrate that wound that is underneath the surface. So a lot of people are dealing with all different shapes and sizes and forms of these protective control mechanisms that are operating in ways that are not necessarily helping the person heal and integrate and then get back to that core state of beingness where we understand the connectedness of all things. So with that being said, the first thing that we vampirize as vampires is these attachments and these aspects of these parts that we have that are preventing us from actually getting in tune with who we actually are under the surface. Now, we're also absorbing or pulling to us these negative repressed energies that are also in our nervous system from the traumas at the same time. So imagine that. So imagine the combination of pulling up wounds from the past that have been stored in your nervous system for years. So deep-seated sadness, deep-seated fear, anxiety, abandonment, all of these different things start naturally coming up to the surface because we're absorbing it into our awareness, or we're absorbing it into the present moment. We're no longer resisting it and pushing it away. Think of that. Absorbing is pulling to you so that you can see it. Resisting is pushing away and keeping down. When you're a vampire, we're absorbing things to the present moment, to the surface. And then simultaneously, as we're doing this, not only are we allowing ourselves to feel these emotions with acceptance, and then are willing to die, to dissolve to these aspects of us that are trying to avoid it, control it, or, push it away in any form. That's what we're doing. We're going through the death process, dying to the false self, dissolving and letting go of these attachments to these parts of ourself that are trying to avoid this whole process while feeling these emotions underneath. So what this really does is it causes a significant deconstruction of the identity, a deconstruction of the ego, while allowing us to have a deeper acceptance for the core of our beingness, which is actually our soul underneath of everything. Because the soul is infinite and the soul can't be destroyed. A lot of people think, oh, my soul could be destroyed. People can take my soul from me, help me. Your soul can't be destroyed. Your soul is infinite. It's going to be there for literally the rest of time. And you get to really understand that and see the power of your soul when you go into this full state of surrender and letting go through the death cycle. And that is what we do as vampires. We are willing to walk through the shadows in ways that most people don't have capacity to do it, and in ways that most people won't do it. Now, of course, the deeper relationship that we build with our unconscious and with the unknown, with our, with the foundation of where our soul resides, the more we start to understand the importance of negative energy. We get to look at the lens of negative energy and not deem it as wrong, bad, or evil, but we get to see it as a healthy catalyst that allows us to have the balance that it is that we need to evolve as souls. So naturally, what a vampire does is not only are we allowing ourselves to die to ourself, but we are moving into these deeper portions of our shadow. We're merging with that shadow by just sitting with these repressed energies and finding love and in finding peace within that dark space that then eventually allows us to slowly and surely, within time, with acceptance, emerge an authentic self, emerge a new identity, a new ego that is in very deep connection with the foundation of where our soul is. So we will always have a deep understanding and a deep knowing of the shadow within self and the core of our beingness, which is behind the ego. And that is how a vampire operates. We're not necessarily afraid to become formless. We're not afraid to necessarily let go of the ego. It doesn't mean it's always easy to do that, but we're not afraid to do that because we've become one with our darkness. We've become one with that infinite light that exists underneath of all of it, which is the truest core of beingness. And that's why it is so important to become a vampire when you're initiating into the Qlippoth, because this process that I'm describing is extremely intense and it's extremely deep. Remember, we're using rituals and we're using invocations of extraterrestrial species to further open up these energetic centers of sacrifice, dissolving, and deconstruction. So you can imagine that in order to work with this depth of the Qlippoth and this depth of your unconscious, it's going to require you to have a significant amount of acceptance, a significant amount of understanding and an ability to absorb energy, even from your repressed negative energy, to then transmute into potential, to transmute into more of a grounded source consciousness of self-development, healthy self-development. This is what it means to be a vampire. We look at the shadows and we see health, we see development, we see growth, we see love, we see acceptance, and we don't run from it. We accept it. We let it come through our nervous system and embrace it completely. And then we become formless by dying to different types of attachments and unhealthy coping mechanisms that are trying to avoid this process of going deeper into that shadow. Because we know at the core of the shadow, that's where our infinite light resides. This is what's known as the black sun. This is what's known as the black flame. It is that infinite light of the soul that exists that you get to finally realize within the deepest depths of the unconscious realm. And truly, everyone has this. Every single one of you listening and everyone on the planet has a black sun consciousness, has a soul that resides as an infinite light within the darkest spaces within self, but not everyone has the capacity to actually travel there and understand that and see that from experience. That's where Qlippothic initiates come into play and how we bring evolutionary changes to the planet at large. Now, as you've gone through this refinement process within yourself, this is something that eventually, through that principle of as within, as without, then starts manifesting externally. So this is when, as a vampire, you start absorbing energy from other things and oftentimes other people. So if I've absorbed aspects of myself that are preventing me from going deeper inside of myself, these protector parts, control parts, and then I'm surrendering to death and I'm finding acceptance within the unconscious and processing repressed negative emotions and healing trauma, if I'm doing this within myself, then that means I'm now having this energetic effect on the world around me as well at a certain point. So it's as within, what's going on inside is now manifesting externally. So now my natural energetic state has an energy where I'm absorbing that protector control mechanisms, the false self-identity that a lot of people attach to. I now absorb that from other people and from other things, and I can transmute it into my own evolutionary potential, literally as energy, because that false self archetype is built up as energy. There's a literal energetic charge that is built up within someone's false self, and the more someone is attached to it, the more energy that they've been putting into it over the years that you can just drain or you can just completely absorb into yourself. And it does that other person a favor, even though up front they may not like that. It does them a favor because it gives them room to let go of that attachment to their false self. And then it benefits you because you get to use that energy for your evolutionary purpose, however that looks. So at a certain point, that's what a vampire effect, a healthy vampire effect, has on the outside world. It absorbs the false self, and then it also surfaces repressed emotions and negative emotions within the nervous system of the person as well, or of the group of people, or whatever it is. So it really initiates a death cycle onto other things so that it can go through that same process of surrender and letting go to the degree that that person or that thing has capacity to go through. So this is one of the really cool benefits of being a vampire, although, the path is extremely challenging to navigate and understand. There is a lot of benefits and a lot of rewards that you get to also experience as someone who actually walks this path. Because as I'm saying, it is very important for the mass collective at large, because if there wasn't people that were in resonance with the negative polarity and the Qlippoth and were not vampires, then there would be so many more people existing with false self-attachments or false self-identities without anything to create a little bit of a catalyst on that to pull that out and to surface what it is that they were repressing. All right, so this is what it means to be a vampire. Now, how do you actually become a vampire? Does that mean you need to become a part of my Patreon, tier number 3 or tier number 4, to receive the universe vampire service from me in order to be a vampire? No, that is not necessarily what you need to do to start initiating yourself as a vampire. although it can be very helpful and it can be very supportive, and I'm of course going to recommend that for anyone, which is the Patreon, my first link in the YouTube description. But to be a vampire literally starts naturally within the beginning stages of Qlippothic initiation. So the first two spheres of the Qlippoth, which is Nama and Lilith, Nama and Gamaliel, is literally ruled by two of the most vampiric energies that are associated with the demonic Qlippothic realm. So why do you think that is? Why do you think Lilith is associated with vampires, and as well as Nama being known as Lilith's counterpart or sister, which just shows the energetic relationship that these two energies truly have together? Why would they be so associated with vampires? It's because literally, in order to really move deeper into the Qlippoth, you have to have this absorbing vampiric energy field to be able to successfully go through these aspects of yourself, these darker aspects of yourself. It's going to require that, because you can't enter into the Qlippoth at a deep level and still be resistant to these repressed emotions within self. You have to be very receptive to them, very absorbing to them, like pulling them right up and being willing to let go, being willing to have acceptance with, and all of those things. So once again, the first two spheres of the Qlippoth, Nama and Gamaliel, ruled by Lilith, are the vampiric primal feminine entities that literally initiate you with a vampiric energy field as you're starting to move deeper into the womb, the dark womb of the Qlippoth itself. There is a reason why that is. There's a reason why the sphere of Lilith, the Gamaliel sphere, is the foundation sphere, because to have a healthy foundation within the Qlippoth, being a vampire is key to that. What it means to be a vampire, not the Hollywood vampire, not the entertainment industry vampire, the vampire energetic field that you have within self, and how that influences your inner process as well as the external world process, because all of these things matter. It's literally how we create balance between the yin and the yang within the collective consciousness as well as within self. All right, so how do you become a vampire? Simply initiating those first spheres will start that process of vampiric energetic self-development. And as I say this, it's not for everyone. You know, when you open up the Qlippoth, there's no going back. You're going to start going into a very, very, very deep process of working with the unconscious realm. So don't just hear this video and think I'm going to jump right into the Qlippoth because I want to be a vampire. That is why I have my Universe Be Vampire Ritual Service, which is an energetic transfer from me to you, because I am a Qlippothic initiate. I've been through the initiations. I've seen Lilith in my dream state literally attack me and turn me into a vampire way back in 2019 when I was going through these initiations. I opened up all these different spheres. I manifested literally my shadow in front of me that ran into my body and merged with me. I've done all different types of ritualistic practices and have really experienced these self-development processes that are associated with the Qlippoth. So I have the energetic resonance to also perform an advanced occult ritual to transfer some of my energetic resonance to you as a participant that can support you maybe in a little bit more of a gentle, easier to integrate way than just jumping right into the Qlippoth. So that is what I have as a ritual service, which is the only ritual service that I have for my entire collective consciousness as a tier 3 or 4 member of my Patreon, which is the first link in my YouTube description. And there is basically 300 people that consistently take advantage of this ritualistic service every single month that it's performed on the 29th of the month. So the deadline to sign up is the 28th. So if you want to take advantage of it, definitely look into it. It supports the process of building a deeper and healthier relationship with some of these deepest aspects of your shadow deepest aspects of the unconscious, being able to work with repressed emotions that are related to trauma. So being able to heal trauma at a core root level, and then being able to die to the false self over and over and over and over again until you really can merge yourself with your shadow and fully exist within universe B with acceptance, which just means just being in that shadow state, accepting it as a part of who you are, and realizing there's love there, realizing there's peace there, realizing there is its own light in that state. And then from that point, with that deep acceptance, you then can slowly start emerging a new self-identity, a new ego that is much more connected to the core of your soul. That is much more connected to the authenticity of what you really are underneath the surface. That is an ego that doesn't have all these protective control mechanisms that it's operating by out of resistance to self because of the traumas. Okay, so this is what this Universe B vampire ritual helps to initiate within the participant that receives it. And it happens every single month on the 29th because I personally perform it myself for every single person that takes place in it. It is a very gentle approach, still intense, and it's not meant for everyone. It's meant for people that are resonating with some of these things that I'm teaching and that are generally in resonance with the negative polarity and being able to do this deeper work within self, and for people that also have resonance with the Qlippoth. This is what this service is for, and it is a gentler approach into that Universe B space within self, but at the same time, it's still quite intense, and it still requires a process of self-commitment for anyone that experiences it. So with that being said, this is exactly what it is that I wanted to mention in this video. I think I covered a lot of different things. Like, there's a lot of value on this video. This is going to definitely stand the test of time on YouTube. Once again, there's not many people that are talking about these types of things. I mean, this is a really taboo form of spirituality, which is related with occultism, that most people do not understand, but it is something that is very significant, very important to educate yourself on and learn more about, because it is real. And whether you're someone that resonates with this path or is an actual practitioner or not, that doesn't really matter. You're still going to get value from studying these things that it is that I'm teaching, because this is real deal stuff that, once again, a lot of people do not know about. You're probably not going to come across anyone else on YouTube that is able to communicate these things in the way that I do. So take advantage of what I'm teaching. Really let yourself be receptive to it. Okay? So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button. That lets me know that you enjoyed it. Drop down into the comment section and let me know what you learned from this. If you have any questions, I would love to hear what your questions are. Share your own personal perspective with this as well. I'd be very curious to hear that. Then also come up to the notification bell and get notified whenever I'm posting, because with content like this, once again, you do not want to miss out. Very valuable content. Take advantage of it, okay? Hit the notification bell, get notified whenever I post, because I'm posting every other day. So take advantage of it. Now also subscribe to my YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you are further energetically connecting to everything it is that I am doing, everything it is that I'm teaching. So if you want more of an influence behind what it is that I'm teaching right now in your own life, subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right. Copy and paste the link and send it to anyone that you feel like is going to gain value from it. Okay, if you know someone that just comes to mind when you're listening to me say that, send it to that person. You know, do that person a favor. Help them understand what it means to be a real vampire and why it's something that's very important to understand as you're initiating yourself within the Qlippoth, because it's something that's going to be happening regardless. People can deny it, they can say it's not true, but it's going to happen. So it's better to just be aware of what's happening rather than be ignorant. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Now, I'm going to take your awareness to literally the most important link within the entire YouTube description itself, and this is the Patreon. Okay. On the Patreon, it's the first link in this YouTube description. I have over 270 plus exclusive videos that are only for the Patreon members. Videos I put a lot of time and energy into creating, all the way from deep occult education, things that are similar to what we're talking about in today's video, all of this stuff, initiation education with Kabbalah, nervous system regulation, trauma education, everything that you could imagine that is important to know when it comes to self-development as a whole from all different angles. And then even practical things where I'm teaching you how to do certain practices on camera, showing you basically a walkthrough of what it is that you need to do it successfully. All of this stuff is over on the Patreon, so definitely look into it. There is over 1,100 members that are a part of the Patreon itself, and that speaks for itself. Okay, so definitely consider it. Join in. Now, also at tier 3 and 4, I just mentioned this earlier in the video, that is the Universe B Vampire Service. So if you want to take advantage of that, definitely consider it. If you want to educate yourself more on what this service is and more on what it means to be a real vampire and what it means to go through this initiatory process, definitely check out my playlist. I have a playlist that talks about vampirism. In that playlist, you'll be able to learn everything it is that you need to know. Okay, so with that being said, that is all on my Patreon. Check it out. It's the first link in that YouTube video description. Now, in the second link, this is where you can book a one-on-one call with me. If you're studying from my content and you're glued in and you have a bunch of different questions that you want to ask, feel free to book a one-on-one call with me and we can go into any of those different questions. If you want to just get to know me, we can talk about whatever it is. Okay? Now, also in the same second link, you have the option to book a mentorship with me. I have 2 mentorships. I have a 6-week and a 3-month. This is literally the most intimate way to personally work with me. This is going to be me and you working together, addressing some of these repressed emotions within your own nervous system, creating a healthy foundation to allow these things to come through so that we can heal them, and then start to create some regulation within your nervous system. And then once we lock all of that stuff in with the foundation, if it's something that you're interested in, we can also start talking about moving into occult initiation. If that's something you're interested in, we don't need to go there. I work with a bunch of different clients, and a great handful of people that I work with do not end up going into this initiatory aspect, but rather we work together addressing trauma, creating foundation, and just going through all of that stuff because that stuff is so important. Okay, so definitely consider it. All of that is in the second link below. We'll leave it there. Now, also in the same second link, you can book a tarot card reading. This tarot card reading is going to be with Alexia. She is a very gifted tarot card reader and can tell you what you're experiencing and why you're going through it at an internal level. So she can help you give clarity on what's going on in your life right now and then reflect it back to your internal process and help you better understand what's taking place and then tell you what's about to be happening in your near future and how you can better move into that near future time frame. Okay, she's also going to be relating these things back to the Kabbalistic tree to give you an even deeper perspective on what is taking place. So with that being said, in that second link, you can also book that reading with her in there. All right, so we'll leave that there. Now, at the third link below, this is a Lucifer's Foundation course. This course gives you a step-by-step structure to follow on everything it is that you need to know to develop a healthy yet powerful relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer. So if you're interested, take advantage. So many people have taken advantage of this service and people are still buying it every single day. And it's been out for, I think, about 7 months now. So if you want to take advantage of it, look into it. There is tons of valuable feedback that people have received. All right, third link. Fourth link is my YouTube memberships. I would love to have you as a YouTube member. It literally is a big community. It's a big family, and I would be more than happy to have you in that family and in that community. See your name appear when I do the live streams with a little badge next to your name. Your name's green. It's always nice to see these familiar faces. So definitely look into that if you're interested. That is the 4th link. The 5th link is my book recommendations for you. It is a 4 ebook bundle on everything you need to know with the fundamentals of occultism and occult initiation. So definitely consider it. These are tools that you could literally use for the entirety of the rest of your process, your initiatory process. It gives you everything you need to know. Okay, and it's in that 5th link. It's a 4 ebook bundle that you gain immediate access to and that you will have for the rest of your life. All right. Now, below that, I have another series of, or I have another section where I have different courses there. And right now I have one course at the time of speaking. I have a course in there that is called the I've Been Cursed course, which is a course that I've created by popular demand for people that are going through any form of psychic warfare or any form of psychic attack or curses on themselves or their family, that need to understand how to free themselves from that negative energy. So I teach you the proper education on everything it is that you truly need to understand and that you truly need to know to be able to liberate yourself from those psychic attacks and from that negative energy in a healthy way, literally in a way that will stay with you for the rest of your life so that you don't have to keep repelling the energy or hiring someone to protect you or trying to protect yourself. It is way deeper than that. It's something I have personal experience with and I felt like would offer value if I made an entire course. It's a short course too, covering that subject, but it goes right to the point and it tells you everything you truly need to know to liberate yourself from a psychic attack. So if that's you, definitely check out that link and purchase that course and take advantage of it. All right. With that being said, this is where I'm going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.